So we have our last but not least speaker of this session. I don't know how to pronounce, but maybe I will try. Wajahat Ali from Pakistan.
Good afternoon, everyone. I am Wajahat Ali. I am a human rights lawyer based in Pakistan with special focus on the protection of children's rights. I'm also co-chair of National Action and Coordinating Group Against Violence Against Children. NACG Pakistan is a civil society branch of South Asian countries which work for protection of children from maltreatment. And it's NACG's Pakistani branch. I'm its co-chair. The work I'm going to present today is entitled as Strategies for Prevention of Child Maltreatment in Pakistan. In my talk, I will discuss about some cases of child maltreatment in Pakistan, and then I will suggest some strategies for prevention of those child maltreatment cases. Uh, this is the synopsis of my presentation. The presentation is divided into the 5 sections. In the first part, I will talk about the definition and types of child maltreatment. And thereafter, I will talk about the cases of child maltreatment in Pakistan and then some causes of child maltreatment in Pakistan. And at the end, I will suggest some strategies for prevention of child maltreatment in Pakistan. And then the conclusion. The purpose of my talk is to know about the different types of child maltreatment that occur in Pakistan, what are its causes, and some strategies for its prevention would be suggested. The first part of my presentation is definition and types of child maltreatment. According to World Health Organization, child maltreatment is the abuse and neglect of people under 18 years of the age. It includes all forms of physical and or emotional ill treatment, sexual abuse, neglect or negligent treatment or commercial or other exploitation, resulting in actual or potential harm to the child health, survival, development, or dignity in the context of a relationship of responsibility, trust, or power. Child maltreatment is generally classified into 4 types: physical abuse, sexual abuse, emotional or psychological abuse, and neglect. Physical abuse is an intentional act of causing injury or trauma to another person or another child by way of bodily contact. Examples of physical abuse are hitting, beating, kicking, punching, slapping, tying up of a child. These are the examples of physical abuse. Sexual abuse is when the child is raped or forced to commit a sexual act, or making his pornographic pictures or showing him pornographic material. These are examples of child sexual abuse. And then the child emotional or psychological abuse occurs in the form of a psychological trauma, which can be in the form of anxiety, depression, post traumatic stress disorder. When physical and sexual abuse occurs with the child, emotional abuse automatically occurs with that one. So the fourth one is neglect. Anything that interferes with the uh, child growth and development constitute neglect. For example, not feeding the child, giving him proper clothing, and not giving him medical or dental care or other kind of basic facilities, then he will be neglected. Now I will talk about some cases of child maltreatment in Pakistan. There are a number of ways where children are exploited and maltreated in Pakistan. I will discuss some of the cases here, and I would like to tell here that Pakistan is not a child-friendly country because thousands of cases of abuse are reported every year in Pakistan. The first kind of child maltreatment which occur in Pakistan is child sexual abuse, rape, gang rape, and sodomy. Thousands of cases are reported of child sexual abuse to law enforcement agencies as well as in print and electronic media every year. I will discuss in the next slide about some data analysis of child sexual abuse cases in Pakistan, and then the commercial sexual exploitation of the children. Children are exploited in the form of prostitution and pornography, other form of sexual activity in which child might engage in order to obtain food, shelter, or other basic needs. And then the child pornography. A dark web mafia is present in Pakistan, which exploit children and make their pornographic videos and pictures, and then sell those videos to the on the dark web to earn money. So these kinds of cases are reported in Pakistan in some districts. And next is abduction, kidnapping, violence, and murder. Children are abducted, kidnapped for the purpose of committing abuses with them. In some cases, force and violence is also used upon the children. And in some cases, after abduction and kidnap, and after committing abuses with them, children are murdered. Next is missing children. Missing children are those who have been disappeared, and there is no information available whether they are alive or dead. So, because we don't know their location and their condition. Victims of missing children are exploited for trafficking, domestic slavery, commercial sexual exploitation, and beggary. And then child early and forced marriages. Uh, the child marriage situation is very bad in Pakistan. According to UNICEF statistics, 18% of the girls in Pakistan are married before their 18th birthday, and 4% are married before the age of 15 years, and 5% of boys are married before the age of 18 years. And the next is child labor. The child labor situation in Pakistan is very bad, and child labor is prevalent in all sectors of economy in Pakistan. Uh, the latest statistics about the number of child laborer in Pakistan is not estimated, because the last child labor survey was conducted in 1996, and in that survey, it was estimated that 3.3 million child workers were present in the country. And after that, there was no survey conducted. And then there are different ages set for child laborers in the country. Child as young as 12 years can be exploited for light work in Pakistan. Next is child domestic workers. Child domestic worker is the subcategory of child labor. There is no law expressly criminalizing child domestic labor in Pakistan, and many cases are reported where the child domestic workers are abused and tortured in houses, and those cases are highlighted in media. And in some cases, I would personally follow those cases where a child maid was tortured by a judge and his wife, and he was sentenced for 3 year imprisonment in Pakistan. It was reported. It was happened in Islamabad, capital of Pakistan. And corporal punishment, bullying, and torture. Cases of corporal punishment, bullying, and torture are reported in educational institutions and religious seminaries, as well as in police stations when the accused is in the custody of the state for conducting investigation. Corporal punishment and torture is applied on them, and there is no law which is applicable all over the Pakistan to ban corporal punishment. Some provinces have enacted legislation, but not all the provinces. Next is the child beggary. Child beggar mafia is present in the major cities of the Pakistan, and they exploit children and force them to beg to earn money for them. So, according to the estimate, uh, 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 5 to 25 million beggars are present in Pakistan, which includes 1.2 million child beggars. And then the street children are those who live or survive on the streets of the Pakistan, and nobody's there to take care of street children. Estimates suggest that there are more than 1.5 million street children in Pakistan. Out of school children, Pakistan ranks second in the world in out of school children. 23 million children are out of school between the age of 5 to 16 years in Pakistan. Although the Constitution of Pakistan provides that states shall provide free and compulsory education to all children between the ages of 5 to 16 years. And then low birth registration rate. Pakistan comes under the countries, in those countries which have lowest birth registration rate according to UNICEF statistics. Latest statistics, 42% children are registered in Pakistan. And child drug abuse, the latest statistics about child drug abuse is currently under process and not available. United Nations Office of Drugs and Crime conducted a survey in 2013, and according to this survey, 6% of Pakistani population between the age of 15 and 64 years had used drugs in year 2012. And child malnutrition is a kind of disease where undernutrition or overnutrition occurs. Undernutrition is lack of nutrients, which results in the form of stunted growth, wasting, and underweight. And surplus of nutrients causes overnutrition, which results in obesity. In Pakistan, 4 out of 10 children under the age of 5 are stunted. And child mortality and health issues. Child health status is very poor in Pakistan, and mortality rates for children at all ages are very high. Approximately one child out of six dies before the age of 5, and neonatal mortality rate constitute about half of under 5 deaths in the country. Pakistan tops the list of child mortality rate amongst the South Asian countries. So these are the all kinds of abuses which occur in Pakistan. Now I will present some data analysis of child maltreatment cases. In year 2021, 3,852 cases of child maltreatment were reported in Pakistan, and these cases were monitored by national NGOs which work against child abuse issues and for child protection issues. And these 352 cases include the cases of child sexual abuse, abduction, missing children, and cases of child marriages. Out of 3,852 cases, 2,272 cases were child sexual abuse, 1,060 cases of abduction, 438 cases of missing children, and 80 cases of child marriages were reported. And according to these statistics, 30% increase has been reported in cases in 2021 as compared to the cases reported in 2020. And more than 10 children have been abused per day in Pakistan. This is the gender division of child maltreatment cases reported in year 2021. Out of 3,852 cases, 54% were girls and 46% were boys. This is the age of the victim, survivors of the abuse. Uh, Out of the total reported cases of child maltreatment, 3,852 cases, more girls were victims of abuse as compared to the boys. 2,068 cases were those where girls were the victim, and 1,784 cases boys were the victim. And the most vulnerable age bracket is 14 to 15 years, where highest number of cases of maltreatment were reported. After that, 6 to 10 years, and then 16 to 18 years, and 0 to 5 years. And between the age of 6 to 15 years, boys were more vulnerable for abuse. More cases of abuse with boys were reported in this age bracket. This is the geographical distribution of child maltreatment cases in Pakistan. 57% cases are reported in rural areas, and 43% cases are reported in urban areas of Pakistan. And this is the period of maltreatment which occur with the child victim. Basically, it shows the duration of the abuse committed against the victim. Some children were abused for the period of 6 months or more than 6 months. Some children are abused for the period of up to 6 months or less than 6 months, and some children are abused for 1 month or less, and some are abused for 1 week or less, or some are abused once, and there was some cases where lack of information was available. And most worst form of child maltreatment in Pakistan, the cases where the child victim was murdered after committing sexual abuse with him. You can see in year 2021, 92 cases of uh, Such cases were reported where children were victims after committing sexual abuse with them, and sexual abuse in the form of rape, sodomy, gang rape, pornography, and in some cases incest were involved in committing child sexual abuse, and in some cases the offense was committed in conjunction with other offenses like abduction, kidnapping. So this is the worst form of child maltreatment cases which I consider in Pakistan. And causes of child maltreatment in Pakistan, I will discuss what are the causes. Insufficient budget allocation for child protection issues by the government, lack of implementation of child protection laws, non-harmonization of domestic laws with international laws and United Nations Convention, because there are different definitions of children in Pakistani laws. Some laws say child age of 12 years would be the child to do child labor, and for child marriages age of the girl is set as 16 years. So these are not compatible with the UNCRC or international standard. Gender inequality, gender-based crimes are present in Pakistan. Low literacy rate. Pakistan has a literacy rate of 60%. So people are ignorant about their rights, and poverty is the main issue which causes child maltreatment, because poor families exploit their children and involve them in labor, prostitution, child marriages, and other kinds of abuses. And lack of awareness about child rights and protection issues among general public, children, and relevant stakeholders, and non-reporting of child maltreatment cases by survivors or victims, because as I said, that people are not very educated. They don't know about the legal procedures available for them to claim their rights. So cases are not reported, and weak investigation and prosecution of child maltreatment cases by state functionaries. Forensic investigation methods are not properly applied. Prosecution system is very slow, and conviction rate is less than 5% in Pakistan. And non-deterrence in society against child maltreatment, because perpetrators are not punished. So deterrence is not created in Pakistani society, so that people will will have some fear that if they will commit abuse, they will be punished. This is the last part of my presentation: some strategies for prevention of child maltreatment in Pakistan. First strategy that government should adopt is to eliminate poverty and raise the socio-economic citizens of the Pakistan. According to the latest statistics, 24% of Pakistani population lives below the poverty line, and the people don't have the higher income. It comes under the category of low and middle income countries. So government should adopt a strategy to eliminate poverty and raise the socioeconomic status of the citizen, reduce the percentage of out of school children in the Pakistan. As I said before, 23 million children are out of school in Pakistan. Provision of quality health services to children and mothers, so that child mortality rate, maternal mortality rate could be reduced in Pakistan, and educate children about potential maltreatment that can be happen with them. So once you give the education to children that if any kind of abuse happens to you, what should you do and how you should report that abuse. So child would have a knowledge that in case of any abuse happen, how he or she should react. Harmonization of existing laws with the UNCRC and other international laws and their full implementation, and awareness raising against child maltreatments amongst general public, legislature, policymakers, and children themselves. Government should distribute awareness material among general public and conduct seminars, trainings of different stakeholders, so that they would have knowledge about child protection issues. And the last strategy, government should allocate sufficient budget and resources to child protection department, authorities, and institutions. And my conclusion of my presentation is child maltreatment in Pakistan can only be eliminated by addressing the causes of maltreatment and fully implementing the strategies suggested against child maltreatment. Thank you very much. If you have any question, you can ask from me, or my email address and mobile number is also present. Yes. I was just curious for a little more information about the data sources that you used in the yeah. Third. I assume those are official reports, but you think that's still an undercount? Yeah. Actually, there are different NGOs in Pakistan which gather this data, and this data is normally reported in newspapers, print, and electronic media. The cases are which are reported in that, and in some cases which are reported directly to the law enforcement agencies. Basically, there is an NGO in Pakistan, Sahel, which works specifically for the prevention of child sexual abuse, and it publish every year their report cruel number. So in that report, they disclose the number of sexual abuse cases and other forms of abuses, like I told, abduction, kidnapping, missing children, child marriages. So I took this data from their report, which was recently published. Yeah. Any other question, please?
How are they identified in Pakistan, the child abuse children? Because I find the difference between girls and boys quite small. And in my head of a European woman, I would have expected to have a much higher abuse of girls.
Yeah. In Pakistan, as I said, that more girls are victim of abuse as compared to the boys. I didn't get your question properly.
The difference seems very small in my eyes, especially for sexual abuse or something. And I'm just wondering, is the threshold, for example, to identify or to report a girl's maltreatment really identical in your country to those for boys?
Yeah, actually, this data is the tip of the iceberg. There are maybe thousands of more cases which are not reported. And these cases are basically those which are reported, which are highlighted in the print or electronic media, or in some cases, uh, the victims or their parents have reported those cases to the law enforcement agencies. And as I said before, that in these cases, maybe less than 5% are those cases who are properly adopted the justice process or properly prosecuted, because the prosecution process, it takes year to complete a case, and in that duration, the parties resile from their statement, and case is dumped down. Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, I think building on that, I think you gave a lot of really good recommendations. Thanks. It was really startling actually talk about to hear about the prevalences and things. But there's something there about having, first of all, clarifying what systems and structures are in place to capture these reports. So I think in future presentations, it might be helpful to know where these reports are coming from. But I think in terms of going forward, there's something there about improving the systems and structures in place in Pakistan to capture that information. So we have better reporting systems, for example, in the UK, arguably. So I think there's something there about that.
Okay, okay. Yeah, please, Shanti.
Fascinating, the whole session, I think. And Wajahat, your presentation really actually highlights the fact that your numbers are on par with what Iceland has in terms of numbers, and we have a huge population. So it's actually showing what's counted. But I wanted to ask questions actually of you. Because your data was suggesting perhaps that looked after children. So social services may be able to support children a bit better than we thought, which is fantastic. From our very small sample that we have in our clinic sample, we were able to show, this is in Australia, that there was really no difference between children who are in the care and protection system or in foster care versus those who had the same risk factors. So those children in need category, because a lot of the efforts in the West go towards children in foster care. Let's have special clinics for looked after children. Let's have special services just for children in foster care. there's not enough attention paid to those children in need. So I thought your data was terrific. The granularity that you have, we really we envy what you actually were able to show, even though you were saying the data sets were incomplete, and there's a lot of problems with the completeness. So I was impressed with that, and all these sessions were terrific. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you
Thank
very
you very
much.
much. It was very interesting. All the presentations here were really interesting. Thank you. So now we have an hour for lunch, and we will continue here at 1:30. Thank you.
Well, if you like the speech, it's